is Deborah Rue, and I'm the CEO of Rue Global Impact. I also am the host of Human Potential at Work. I have an audience in 86 countries, 113 regions, been doing that show for over 4 years. I'm also the co-host of Access Chat, one of the largest tweet chats in the world, talking about accessibility, disability inclusion, tech for all, tech for good, and things that really support the inclusion of all people into our workforce and meaningfully into society. I'm a speaker for the State Department. I'm the U.S. representative for the Valuable 500 under the leadership of Dr. Caroline Casey, and very happy to be a market influencer. And my most important accomplishment is I'm a mom. I have 2 grown children, and my oldest is a daughter who was born with Down syndrome. And sadly, my husband has acquired dementia as he's aged, which many people age into disabilities, which is just part of life, but his was due to a traumatic brain injury that he had as a child. So global statistics, there are people with disabilities all over the world. According to the World Health Organization, 1 in 7 people have disabilities, but there are many other countries that show much tighter numbers. In the United States, for example, 1 in 4 people identify as having a disability according to the CDC. And I know my slide says 1 in 5, but it now has turned to 1 in 4. But that 1 in 5 number works in Canada, in the UK, in Europe. So people, I think more and more are really coming out and saying, I want to be my true self. I want to be my whole self. I want to be proud to be a woman in technology that might also have disabilities. I have invisible disabilities. I struggle with depression and anxiety, and I also am a person that has been diagnosed later in life with ADHD. And all that says about me is that I'm just a human being. And so the numbers are pretty staggering. We have numbers in Russia between 13 to million people with disabilities. In China, we know there's over 60 million. It's probably much higher. Not everybody's doing census. In Japan, there are 5 million, but there's 127.8 that are over the age, that are elderly, over 65. In the Middle East, we have 50 million. The numbers are just staggering. In the United States, we have 60 million people that identify as having disability, and 1 in 3 households are impacted. So the numbers are enormous. And when we're talking about inclusion of any minority group, especially a minority group as large as people with disabilities, you can't do it without talking about diversity, because we still are in the middle of the women's movement. Women are still, we are not being included in, we have gender pay disparity. We are not being included on the board still. We're only at a 30% and we've come up from 17%, which is great. But why you would not have a talented woman on your corporate board is beyond me and all the other women, especially when we're 55% of the workforce. So you should actually have us as 55%, I think, on your global boards. And if you don't, we don't understand why, and we're speaking out. So when you're talking about diversity movements, it's important that we consider all the intersectionalities of this as well. There are many, many women with disabilities. There are many women that are LGBT. So we all have the intersectionality, and it's very important that we all support each other, because I really believe the world works better when we're all included. We also are really encouraging, as a global disability inclusion strategist, I'm really, really encouraging the world to stop thinking about including people with disabilities as only from a charity. We don't want the medical model of, people with disabilities are broken. That's ridiculous. People with disabilities are people. So the return on investment and the shareholder value versus charity, that is what the expectations are and are continuing to grow. It is very important that corporations stand for something and tell us what you stand for. And the younger people have vowed they will not work for you. They will not buy from you. They will spend more money to go with a brand that they feel supports them and what they care about, and cares about, cares about more than profits and shareholder value. Now, of course, you have to be profitable. You have to make your shareholders value. Nobody's saying that we don't want you to do that, but we want you to stand for more than that. What is your purpose? What are you doing to make sure that people are fully included? What are you doing for our planet? This is planet that we live on. These things are very important to all generations, but especially the younger generations. And if you want to be an employer of choice, you've got to do the right thing to make sure that your employees and candidates that are going to come to you know what you stand for, as well as making sure that your customers know what you stand for. When we work with large corporations, we do it with a three-pronged approach: customer, employee, and brand. Looking at it from all those lenses, are you making sure that all of your customers are heard and included, that your products and services are accessible? Are you really considering your employees and making sure that people with disabilities and other intersectionalities of diversity, that they can really be who they are and contribute the most to the workforce? And how are you talking about these from a brand perspective, both internally marketing and in external marketing at the same way? How are you joining these important conversations? The world has changed. I think we all know that. Once again, we did not have the Mobile World Congress this year. I was really bummed out because it was going to be my first time coming, and I'd heard so many wonderful things about the conference, and certainly GSMA does a wonderful job with conferences. And the world is very confusing right now, and the world has continued to change. There, with all of the globalization and all of us being able to have information so quickly, there's wonderful things about it, and beautiful, amazing things about it that can bring us together. But as we know, this can also divide us. And so the globalization is an opportunity for all corporations. I often talk to corporations that we deal with, large global companies, telling them that if they're only focused on including people with disabilities, say from the United States, there might be the perception that all you care about, you're only doing it because you're reducing your risk, and which there's nothing wrong with reducing your risk, and that you're just worried about being sued. You need to consider diversity of people with disabilities, diversity of women, all the other intersectionality from your entire global footprint. There's very few companies that are not in some way global. Even if your footprint is a national footprint, you're partners. You're probably part of the global supply chain. So medical advancements. We've seen some amazing medical advancements that are keeping us alive longer, helping us stay healthier longer, and extending our lives. But at the same time, there are prosthetics and robotics and artificial intelligence. There's so many cool things that are helping with the quality of our lives. And I really believe that technology is a great equalizer, but you have to consider technology from all aspects of it, including ICT, because you can give us technology, but if we don't have the Wi-Fi and the speeds to really allow us to work from a global perspective, a national perspective, we all fail. And then I'm talking about this a lot, but technology across the board in the biggest sense of the way, including the ICT, the 5G, the digital divide, all of the things that we have to consider. The Sustainable Development Goals, which I have here, the digital divide, corporate social responsibility. Often it appears that corporations are not really caring about corporate social responsibility, but we care about it. And so we need to know what you're doing and how you're making the world a better place. You need to tell us your stories. There's also this really amazing market opportunity opening up. I have just a few brands here that have really spent a lot of time making sure that people with disabilities are included. And there's so many more. I'm really proud, once again, of being part of the Valuable 500, really encouraging United States corporations, especially US corporations that are global, to join the Valuable 500 to show that you have a commitment to disability inclusion at a boardroom level. So some of the brands I have represented here, one of them is Microsoft, who's done a fabulous job in so many different ways of inclusion of people with disabilities and other minorities. But they have a really wonderful game controller that allows people with disabilities to participate. Another brand I have up here is Dove, where they had this beautiful woman that was blind talking about why lotion and the scent and the feel on her hands, all of those things were so important to her as a consumer, and by the way, important to the rest of us as well. There is a brand Honey Maid, who they show a wonderful commercial of a woman teaching a child how to make a healthy snack. And they did it very tastefully. It's just a really quiet little moment between these. It's an aunt and a child, but I assumed it was a mother and child, but it doesn't really matter. The point of it is a woman teaching a little girl how to make a healthy snack. And as they pan back to end the commercial, you see that the woman is in a wheelchair. Very tastefully done. AT&T has just done so much. I applaud AT&T in so many ways. They've done so many wonderful things, really working hard to include people with disabilities. And this is one of their advertisements, accessing your digital world, which, by the way, the digital world must be accessible to everybody. And then the last brand I have here is Toyota. And Toyota has done a lot of really amazing things, including using Amy Purdy, who won she came in second on Dancing with the Stars, even though she has 2 prosthetic legs. We work with other amazing brands. I would have to do a shout out for Huawei, because Huawei is doing a lot to really make the world better. Not just focusing once again on business, but how do we make the world better for all people? And there's lots of brands doing that, but we need to do it more, and we need to talk about these conversations. We need to lead and show, no, we're all in this together. We're all better together. And technology has changed the world for all of us, and certainly for people with disabilities. Some of the recent prosthetics are amazing. We now have the exoskeletons that allow people that have spinal cord injuries to stand up. We have face transplant. We have smart cities. We have just so many wonderful things, the Internet of Things, the smart glasses, the robotics, the artificial intelligence. The picture I have in the middle of the window is a woman driving, reading a book, and you hope she's using a driverless car. And I'm a big proponent of driverless cars, automated vehicles. And I had somebody say, oh, I'm not going to get into one of those cars. They've killed 3 people. Well, 1 million people every single year die to car accidents, every single year. And most of them are human errors. You know, we get distracted, we get confused, we get tired, we get sleepy, we sometimes consume things, we sometimes text or read books. I actually saw a woman weaving in front of me, and I thought, get off the phone. But as I went around her on the interstate, she was changing her shirt. Don't change your shirt when you're driving down the interstate. But things like that, we probably already should know. So this is also about the future of work, but it's about today also. There is a very important lens being placed upon corporations right now to look and see how diverse you are. We see corporations making mistakes, putting unconscious bias and sometimes maybe conscious bias into the products that you're building, the AI and things like that, because you're not employing a diverse workforce. If you employed a diverse workforce across the board and you allowed the diversity to really go into your product design and your services and everything you do, it's going to allow you to really do a better job of including your employees, your customers, and really protecting your brand. We have a distributed workforce all over the world. People are coming from different cultures, different parts of the world. It's really important that corporations embrace and value the diversity of all of your customers, all of your employees, all of your shareholders, all of your vendors, your investors, because the future of work is human. Even though we're heading towards artificial intelligence and things like that, humans are still a very important part of it. And it helps when you have diversity, because then we can all bring our own lens into the conversations, and we can be more innovative and more creative and more productive. And I'm not just saying that, we know that for sure from studies. This is also about seamless integration, integrating persons with disabilities into every aspect of the organizations, making sure you have very specific goals, and you're telling us the stories about the work that you're doing too, that are good for the bottom line and also good for your image. Societies, once again, function when everybody's included. I have to, of course, like any typical mom, I'm going to find a way to bring my daughter into this picture, but here's a picture of me signing my second book, and my daughter with Down syndrome was in there. And you know, she's an amazing woman. She also, she has her opinions of how she should be running her life and how she wants to be identified as well. So I think I think we are, I really believe that we're evolving, and evolution sometimes is very messy, but I think it's very important that we stand by each other, we support organizations like GSMA that is supporting what we're all trying to do. And I think we need to join together and really, make sure that everybody knows the business case is clear. Technology, information technology and communications are redefining everything, and certainly the workforce. Corporations are leading the change, and we all have to be agents of this change. But I just think it's very important that women continue to support each other, that we support organizations like GSMA. I'm looking forward to going to next year's Mobile World Congress. And I just think there's so much more that we can do to support each other and be there for each other, and stop deciding that certain members of society don't add value, because that is not true. They don't add value because society has disabled them. Society has not been accessible to them. Society has not allowed them to come out and show what they're capable of doing. So we need to do a much better job of that and support the organizations and the corporations that are supporting the things that we care about in the world. Thank you.